So speaking of volcanoes and eruptions, Zion Williamson, his first game back, we saw the first 3 quarters. He was really tentative and hesitant. And then in the fourth quarter, he erupted for 17 points straight and absolutely brought the house down. Hit 4 straight threes. Just one of the most surreal experiences of basketball I've ever had. I was just screaming up and down. What were your thoughts? What was going on through your mind?
First pissed because I watched, not because of what Zion did. I was watching at a sports bar around the corner from my hotel, and I left during a commercial break in the fourth quarter. By the time I got back up to my room, I think Zion had poured in most of those points. And so I had to pretty much after the game, I just had to, or I can't remember, either during the next commercial break or after the game, I had to watch those buckets. And so of course, it took me probably 5 minutes at most to get from the hotel bar to the sports bar to my hotel room. And of course, during that time, that's all it took, which is kind of makes the point you're trying to make, the fact that he poured in all those points in such a short time span. It was ridiculous. So obviously some growing pains over the first 3 quarters. And I think as all this and the most recent game is a sign of great things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he broke the internet in the span of 180 seconds. So good on Zion, and that was absolutely incredible to watch. The Pelicans, unfortunately, lost a game that was pretty important to a divisional rival that is also ahead of them in the race for the 8th seed. And they were plus in Zion's few minutes that he played, and then they were outscored in the minutes that he didn't play. Drew and Brandon Ingram had a pretty rough game, and again the story was similar against the Nuggets. Zion had a pretty effortless 15-point outing. He shot amazingly efficient from the field. He looked like he was getting whatever he wanted, and he still looks like he's only moving about 60% of the speed that he was moving in preseason, in my opinion. Well, maybe not, because in preseason I don't think he was fully trying as well. Maybe 60% of the speed we've seen him move at Duke, and I don't think that's from an injury or conditioning standpoint. I think that's just hey, let me figure this out. Let me figure out how to operate my body in this sea of NBA bodies. And when he gets used to this game speed, he'll turn it on, and as he's learning to trust his body more, he'll turn it on more. And so we definitely see flashes of insane athleticism or motor from him. I think in the Spurs game, we saw him just absolutely sky Jakob Poeltl for a rebound, and then he sent a block to the 15th row against the Nuggets. And so that is all very much there. I'm extremely excited about that. But I guess let's start talking about how some of the guys are fitting in with Zion. The Pelicans have been starting Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Derek Favors. What have been your thoughts on that combo so far? And Drew and BI have struggled these last 2 games. And do you think it is an adjustment thing? Do you think it's a spacing thing? What do you think is going on with those guys?
Yeah. So one quick comment on Zion that I wanted to get to, I'll full transparency, I have not caught up on last night's game. I've watched the Zion highlights and how he got his points. We had our office holiday party. We do that. We do it in January rather than December because it's easier to find places in downtown Chicago to do it. And so I haven't had a chance to watch the game. However, one thing that jumped out to me, a couple things, obviously the rebounding and free throws from last night, but I went to look at Zion's shot chart, and you could easily see a guy kind of still getting back into it, over relying on the 3 because of how well he shot it in his first game. And the fact that Zion's shot chart is it's 1 3 from the top of the key and just everything else in the paint. And so that's and that one there's one that's kind of far from the rim in the paint, and it was the turnaround jumper that he hit. And so it's just he's getting his shots in the right places. He didn't fall in love with a 3-pointer just because he was hitting it in one game. You could easily make that case for some guys to do that as they're getting back in the swing of things, and he didn't. And so I think that was it speaks to the kind of player he is and the way he wants to score. And so I think it's pretty exciting. But as As far as the fit, I think it's a combination. I think this is a hard thing, and you could see it in the preseason. This was hard for Brandon and Zion to really figure out how they're going to play off each other and play together. And I think, and I still stand by the fact that what we talked about, what to expect when Zion returned, and I said I fully expect Zion to Brandon to help Zion, and the fact that we've seen Ingram be more of an attacker than maybe we expected. Obviously, we knew Ingram was a good isolation player, but I don't think we expected him to really be this type of kind of almost point guardish in his ability to drive and either kick or drive and get a look inside. And Zion could be the guy to go clean up any misses. And so I thought there's obviously going to be some synergies there between those two. And it's the more important thing I think is, and I think this is something you want to get to as well, is how we create space for the other guys when those two are together. So, I mean, there's going to be an adjustment period. I'm not concerned about those two fitting together in the long term, but it's some of the other stuff around it that may be concerning.
So I'm going to say one stat, and clearly it's not predictive, but it definitely kind of goes against the eye test that we've been seeing. And there's a lot for us to figure out before we kind of make a decision here. But the starting lineup, Drew Holiday, Derek Favors, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Zion Williamson, has played 16 minutes together. It's the most played lineup the Pelicans have had in the last two games since Zion is back. And they have a net rating of plus 20, 20.6 to be exact. If the offensive rating of 120.6, that's elite. They have a defensive rating of 100. That's elite.